From Jimmy Hoffa, buried under Giant Stadium, to Bo Jackson's superhuman speed, the NFL has spawned some absolutely wild urban legends that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about football. These stories have been passed down through generations of fans, growing more incredible with each retelling. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into the craziest, most unbelievable tales in NFL history and find out which ones might actually be true. Number 15, the Super Bowl stock market indicator. This one's for all you finance bros who also love football. Back in the 1970s, sports writer Leonard Koppett noticed something bizarre. When an NFC team wins the Super Bowl, the stock market goes up. When an AFC team wins, down it goes. Here's where it gets freaky. This indicator has been right about 80% of the time since the Super Bowl began. That's way better than most Wall Street analysts. The theory suggests that old NFL teams, now mostly NFC, winning brings market confidence, while younger AFL teams, now AFC, winning signals uncertainty. Of course, correlation doesn't equal causation, and plenty of economists have debunked this as pure coincidence. Some argue it's just luck mixed with the fact that NFC teams dominated the Super Bowl during several bull market periods in the 80s and 90s. But hey, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl and your portfolio starts looking good, maybe send a thank you note to Jalen Hurts. Number 14, Beady Feathers, in the NFL's first fishy 1,000-yard season. Picture this. It's 1934, the Great Depression is in full swing, and the NFL desperately needs a hero to sell tickets. Enter Beady Feathers of the Chicago Bears, who became the league's first 1,000-yard rusher with exactly 1,004 yards. The conspiracy? Some believe the NFL cooked the books to create this milestone. Feathers averaged an insane 8.44 yards per carry, a record that still stands today for players with 100-plus carries. That's like breaking off a first down every time you touch the ball. For context, the next guy to rush for 1,000 yards didn't do it for another 13 years, Steve Van Buren, in 1947. But here's the thing. Contemporary newspaper accounts from 1934 actually reported his achievement in real time. The Chicago Tribune called him the best ground gainer since Red Grange. The real reason for his success? The pathetic Cincinnati Reds went 0-8 and gave up massive rushing yards to everyone. Feathers got 254 yards in 2 games against them alone. Sometimes the simplest explanation, terrible defense, is the right one. Number 13, Andre the Giant almost became a Washington Redskin. Before he was body-slamming Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant was supposedly scouted by the Washington Redskins in the 1970s to play linebacker. At 7'4" and over 500 pounds, Andre would have been the most terrifying defensive player in history. The story goes that team scouts saw him and thought, why not? But watching Andre move in the wrestling ring tells you everything. The guy moved like he was underwater. His knees were shot by his 30s, and a single hit might have ended his career. Andre suffered from acromegaly, which caused his gigantic size, but also severe joint problems and limited mobility that would have made football impossible. Still, imagine being a quarterback and seeing that mountain of a man charging at you. You'd probably just hand him the ball and apologize. While this legend remains unconfirmed and likely just wrestling promoter hype, it's fun to imagine an alternate universe where Andre the Giant has a Super Bowl ring instead of a WrestleMania championship. Smash subscribe, because this might be the only NFL conspiracy that's actually real. Number 12, Wade Boggs and the cross-country beer marathon. Hall of Famer Wade Boggs was known for 2 things: hitting baseballs and allegedly drinking ungodly amounts of beer. The legend? Boggs supposedly downed over 70 beers on a single cross-country flight. Teammate Jeff Nelson backed up the story in a radio interview, claiming Boggs would regularly drink over 50 beers on road trips from the East Coast to West Coast. I know how crazy that sounds, Nelson said. And I wouldn't believe it myself unless I saw him do it. Numerous times. And here's the kicker. Boggs would then go out and get multiple hits the next day like nothing happened. Boggs himself hasn't exactly been coy about the exact number, in interviews and anecdotes being quoted, saying that the final number for the day was 107 beers after the 73 on-flight beers. But here's the kicker. He later went 2 for 3 with 2 doubles against Mark Langston the following day. The man would have been more beer than human by landing. He later admitted to drinking beer before games as part of his routine. True or not, it's become the gold standard for athlete drinking stories, and honestly, we're not sure if we should be impressed or concerned. Number 11, Tom Brady's Dolphins deal that never was. When Tom Brady retired in 2022, the first time, rumors swirled that he and Sean Payton were headed to Miami as a package deal. The conspiracy deepened when Brian Flores filed his discrimination lawsuit alleging Dolphins owner Stephen Ross offered him $100,000 per lost game to tank for draft picks. The theory? Brady and Payton backed out when they heard about the alleged tanking scheme. These are 2 of the most competitive guys in football. The idea of intentionally losing would have been like asking them to eat glass. The timing was incredibly suspicious. Flores filed his lawsuit on February 1st. Brady announced his retirement January 29th, then unretired just 40 days later. While the Dolphins denied everything, the timing was too perfect to ignore. Brady unretired 40 days later to return to Tampa, and Peyton stayed in broadcasting for another year before joining the Broncos. Was this the greatest almost trade in NFL history, or just smoke and mirrors? We may never know, but Dolphins fans are still crying into their mojitos. Number 10, the Patriots Spygate curse. In 2007, the Patriots were on the verge of perfection, 18-0, with the Super Bowl against the Giants as their coronation. Then, news broke that they'd been caught videotaping opponents' defensive signals from the sidelines. The football gods apparently took notice. Despite being nearly 2 touchdown favorites, the Patriots lost to the Giants in one of the biggest upsets in Super Bowl history. David Tyree's helmet catch, divine intervention. Since Spygate, the Patriots went 0-2 in Super Bowls against the Giants, lost to the Eagles with Brady's best statistical game ever, and haven't sniffed perfection since. The NFL fined them $250,000 and docked them a first-round draft pick. Some say it's coincidence. Others whisper about karma. But when you're the Patriots and weird stuff keeps happening in big games after you get caught cheating, it's hard not to wonder if someone upstairs is keeping score. The curse seemed to lift eventually. They won 3 more titles, but that perfect season remains just out of reach forever, like a football god's eternal punishment. Number 9, Bronco Nagurski, the plow pushing farm boy. This legend sounds like something out of a Paul Bunyan tall tale. Minnesota coach Doc Spears was driving through the countryside when he got lost. He stopped to ask a farm boy for directions. The kid pointed the way while holding a plow with no horse attached. That farm boy, Bronco Nagurski, who would become one of the NFL's first superstars and toughest players. The story got better with each telling. Sometimes he was plowing the field by hand, sometimes lifting the plow over his head. Different versions had him pointing in different directions with the plow still in hand, impressing Spears with his incredible strength. Nagurski himself never confirmed or denied it, probably because it was great publicity. But here's what we know. Farm boys in the 1920s were tough as nails, and Nagurski hit people so hard that defenders would fake injuries to avoid tackling him. When you're that much of a beast, people will believe anything. Number 8, Donovan McNabb's Super Bowl puke party. Super Bowl 39 was supposed to be the Eagles' moment. Instead, Donovan McNabb allegedly added a new meaning to hurling a pass. The legend says McNabb threw up in the huddle during the Eagles' final drive, contributing to their loss to the Patriots. Teammates have given wildly conflicting accounts. Lito Shepard and John Ritchie claimed they saw him throw up, while center Hank Fraley said he was almost puking. Brian Westbrook said McNabb was just coughing. The Fox Sports director who ran the broadcast says they never had a shot of any vomiting, despite having cameras everywhere. McNabb himself vehemently denies it ever happened. Whether it was nerves, flu, or chunky soup revenge, the image of McNabb yakking in the biggest game of his life has become part of Super Bowl lore. No video evidence exists, despite this being the most watched event on TV. Number 7, Ray Guy's helium football conspiracy. The 1970s Raiders were football's outlaws, and even their punter was supposedly bending the rules. The legend says Ray Guy used helium-filled footballs to get extra hang time on his punts, specifically in a 1977 playoff game against the Oilers. Houston was so convinced something was fishy that they actually had officials test the footballs mid-game. The tests came back negative, but the legend lived on. Mythbusters even tackled this 1 year later, scientifically proving helium doesn't make footballs fly higher. If anything, it makes them worse because the lighter gas affects the ball's stability and spin. But here's why this legend persists. Guy really was that good. He was the first punter ever drafted in the first round, and his punts seemed to defy physics, hanging in the air forever. When you're revolutionizing the position and making grown men look silly trying to return your punts, people will look for any explanation other than he's just better than everyone else. Number 6, the Detroit Lions' Bobby Lane curse. In 1957, the Lions won their last championship with quarterback Bobby Lane leading the way. The next year, they traded him to Pittsburgh, and according to legend, Lane declared, "The Lions won't win for 50 years." What happened next? The Lions became the NFL's lovable losers. They've won exactly 1 playoff game since 1957. They went 0-16 in 2008, exactly 50 years after trading Lane. Coincidence? Lions fans don't think so. The timing was too perfect, a winless season marking the exact end of the supposed curse. The curse supposedly lifted after 2008, but has it really? The Lions have found creative new ways to lose, from Calvin Johnson's retirement to blown leads to questionable referee calls. They're the only NFC team never to reach a Super Bowl. Barry Sanders retired early rather than keep losing. Number 5, Super Bowl III, the fix that launched Joe Namath. Broadway, Joe's guarantee. The Jets' shocking upset. The AFL's validation. Super Bowl III had everything, including whispers that it was fixed to help legitimize the AFL before the 1970 merger. The evidence? The Colts were 18-point favorites, yet played like they'd never seen a football before. They had 5 turnovers, couldn't punch it in from the 1-yard line, and their vaunted defense gave up 337 yards to an AFL team. Colts defensive end Bubba Smith went to his grave believing something was off. saying years later that the NFL needed the AFL to look competitive for the merger to work financially. Namath's pregame confidence seems suspicious in hindsight. Who guarantees victory as a 3-touchdown underdog unless they know something? But here's the thing, sometimes David really does beat Goliath. The Jets had a great game plan exploiting the Colts' overconfidence. The Colts overlooked them completely, and Namath played the game of his life. Number 4, Bo Jackson's impossible 4.12 40-yard dash. Bo Jackson was an athletic freak who played 2 professional sports and excelled at both. But even for Bo, running a 4.12-second 40-yard dash seems impossible. That would make him faster than any human in recorded history, including Olympic sprinters with perfect conditions and starting blocks. The legend comes from a scout's hand time measurement at Auburn. For context, the fastest electronic time ever recorded at the NFL Combine is 4.22 seconds by John Ross in 2017. Hand timing typically adds 0.10.2 seconds versus electronic timing, but even accounting for that, 4.12 is video game speed. It would mean Bo was faster than Usain Bolt's splits during world record runs. Here's the thing about Bo, he did so many impossible things that people believed anything. He ran up walls, broke bats over his knee, threw runners out from the warning track, and once ran through the tunnel rather than be tackled. Number 3, the Immaculate Reception controversy. December 23rd, 1972. Steelers versus Raiders in the AFC playoffs. With 22 seconds left, Terry Bradshaw throws a desperation pass that bounces off someone and lands in Franco Harris's hands. Touchdown Steelers, birth of a dynasty, and 50 years of arguing about what really happened. The controversy, if the ball only touched Steelers running back Frenchie Fuqua before Harris caught it, the play was illegal by 1972 rules. 2 offensive players couldn't touch the ball consecutively. Raiders safety Jack Tatum swore he never touched it. Fuqua has remained mysteriously silent for 5 decades, fueling conspiracy theories. He's literally never definitively said whether he or Tatum touched the ball first. But here's the darkest part of the legend. The officials allegedly called it a touchdown, not because they saw it clearly, but because they feared for their safety in Pittsburgh. The crowd was going insane, debris was flying, and reversing the call might have started a riot. Number 2, Deflategate, Tom Brady's pressure problem. The Patriots just can't help themselves with controversies. In the 2015 AFC Championship, the Colts accused them of using underinflated footballs to gain an advantage. What followed was the most ridiculous scandal in sports history, complete with science debates, destroyed cell phones, and a federal court case that went all the way to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. The legend says Brady ordered equipment managers to deflate balls below the legal limit of 12.5 pounds per square inch because softer balls are easier to grip and catch in cold weather. The NFL suspended Brady 4 games and fined the Patriots $1 million plus 2 draft picks. But here's where it gets weird. Scientists couldn't agree if the balls were actually deflated or if it was just the ideal gas law causing natural pressure drops in cold weather. The real conspiracy might be that the NFL turned a minor equipment violation into a massive scandal to show they were tough on the Patriots. Brady missed 4 games, came back angry, and won 2 more Super Bowls. Number 1, Jimmy Hoffa's end zone eternal rest. The ultimate NFL urban legend has nothing to do with football and everything to do with cement. Labor leader Jimmy Hoffa disappeared in 1975, right when the original Giant Stadium was being built. The legend? The mob whacked Hoffa and buried him under the goal line in the west end zone. For decades, fans joked about Hoffa helping the Giants' goal line defense. When they demolished the stadium in 2010, people seriously expected to find remains. The FBI has investigated multiple times, once even bringing in bloodhounds and ground-penetrating radar. They found nothing, but that hasn't stopped the legend. The story gained extra credibility because the stadium construction timeline perfectly matched Hoffa's disappearance on July 30th, 1975. Here's why this story endures. It combines America's fascination with mob stories, unsolved mysteries, and football into one perfect conspiracy. Which legend do you think is actually true? Drop a comment below and let me know. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into football's wildest stories, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got plenty more mind-blowing sports content coming your way. And remember, in the NFL, anything's possible.